Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? The sun is just getting ready to set off in the horizon, if you can see it. So anyway, a very beautiful night here in Southern California. A lot of people down along the beach. Getting to be more summertime around here, which is a beautiful time of year. Summertime in Carlsbad, California is about as good as it gets. But I want to talk a little bit more tonight about what we're going through today in this time as far as business is concerned. As far as working, jobs, business, all the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. Most of us have to deal with anyway. People like Donald Trump don't have to worry about it because obviously he inherited a lot of money from his family and he doesn't have to worry about the day-to-day things a lot of people have to worry about. But most of us have to worry about how to feed our families, how to make a living, how to buy a house, how to get transportation, how to make sure we've got all the little things we need to live on a daily basis. So that's the stuff that I'd like to address and talk about because it's stuff I think that none of us really know how to deal with under the conditions that we're dealing with today, which is hyperinflation, which I think is hyperinflation, although the government doesn't like to call it hyperinflation, and the fact that there's no opportunities as far as jobs are concerned. We all have a formula that we grew up with, and the formula is you grow up, you go to school, you take out a student loan, and then you pick a degree during your college years and you get trained, and then you find some company that gives you a job, you pay back your student loan, and during those years you have a decent living, you buy a house, you buy all the things you need, you raise a family, and you live happily ever after. Well, that formula hasn't worked for a long time, although it's still what everybody considers what everyone should do with their lives. It's almost like a Santa Claus thing. We want to believe there's a Santa Claus, but when Christmas shows up and there's nothing under the tree, or there's nothing, no presents been dropped from the chimney, you realize there was no Santa Claus and it was just a big fairy tale, and nothing there was. It was all made up. Well, that's kind of the way the world works today as far as jobs, the economy, and student loans and all the other stuff is concerned. So this is stuff that's really plaguing a lot of people, including myself, and like I said yesterday, I'm not a young guy, I'm 64 years old, and I'm still dealing with this, worried about how my future is going to turn out. And I can't even imagine how I would be feeling if I was like 24 years old instead of 64 years old. Because there's a long time you have to figure out how this is going to work out. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the economy in the United States of America, because we've lived in this debt-based economy for so long, meaning that we spend more money than we bring in, or more money than we produce, more money than we make. We spend more money than our GDP, our gross domestic product. So we spend more than we actually produce, and we've been doing that for a long time. We've been living in a deficit. And when you live in a deficit for a long period of time, it catches up with you. And we're living in those days where it's starting to catch up to us. And now we have to live with the results. And one of the things I always heard when I was growing up was that we are borrowing from our children's future, and that's exactly true. And now I'm one of the ones that is borrowed from the generations that are coming after me, which is the generations that the younger generations. So my generation has had a higher standard of living than we should have otherwise had because of the deficit that we've run our country under, and now the kids growing up now are living with those kinds of problems. That's the kind of problem. So anyway, how we deal with that, how this turns out is going to be monumental for our future, and how people's lives are going to be affected and changed. And I'm unless something dramatically happens, and like I say, I don't see anything right now on the table that gives any kind of answers for the questions that I've just been talking about, the things that I've been talking about. I don't think there's any way any of this gets fixed. I don't think there's going to be a massive depression. I don't think everything's going to crash. I don't think any of that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is you're just going to see a bigger spread between the wealthy and the people that don't have anything. And the longer this goes on, the bigger spread that will be, and to the point where there'll be just a few percent of people that will live well, and 99.9% of the people live very badly. And that's kind of, I think, where we're at right now. We're getting to the point where there's very few people, and the people that do live well right now, they're living well based on really kind of a fantasy of money that they really probably can't access. So in other words, you have a home that may have gone up in value quite a bit, but unless you can reach that money, unless you can borrow against that home and get some sort of home equity line of credit, you have money, you have a good overall net, you have good wealth, you have your income is good. I mean, not your income is good, but your wealth is good. But you can't access it because it's all tied up in this house or tied up in whatever property you own. That's where we're at right now. So I see things probably not changing for the next year because we got an election coming up. So things probably aren't going to change a whole lot after that. But I see equities going up. I see things going up, prices going up immensely going up to the point where we won't be able to recognize anything. Stock market will be reaching new highs. I do think eventually the Federal Reserve will cut the interest rates. They're not going to do it right away, but they're going to have to do it. And we're probably looking at going into some sort of digital currency with negative interest rates. That will be our future. So in other words, the money will be digital. It will turn digital. We won't have a fiat currency anymore. You won't have $100 bills under your mattress or in your wallet or anything like that. It'll all be digital. It'll be on a blockchain, which means the government will be able to see everything you buy and sell. You probably will get, at the end of the year, you'll just get a deduction for your taxes. You won't have to do a 1040 tax return, or you won't have to save your tax receipts or anything like that, because that's all going to be done through the blockchain. And everything's going to be measured, and everything's going to be already predetermined. They have to do that because they can't continue to have people self-report or have, because these the tax returns, it's a non-digital system. Coming up with a tax return is not something that people do very well, and it's not very good self-reporting. So they're probably going to do some sort of digital system on the blockchain, and that's the way it's going to end up being. And we'll probably go into a negative interest rate where the banks will actually charge you for having money in the bank. So we will have negative interest rates. We'll go back to some sort of negative interest rate system. So digital money and negative interest rates. You can see that coming in the future. Not immediately, but probably within the next few years, you're going to be seeing that kind of a system come into play. And everything will be done by a blockchain. And the more they do by the blockchain, the more they'll be able to see exactly, how they can help people and how they can give subsidies or give stimulus to certain people and certain groups of people at certain times. And we're going to be coming under a system that's much more regulated than it is today. There'll be less freedoms, and you will have a less ability to manage your own financial affairs. This will be done more through government allocating money and giving money to people for certain activities that they want to promote. In other words, if you're someone that doesn't smoke, you probably get a bigger stimulus than if you're a smoker, because sometime in the future, if you're a smoker, you're going to cost the system money because of the fact that the healthcare system is going to have to take care of your medical bills. So if you don't smoke, you get a bigger stimulus check than if you do smoke. And all that's going to show up on your blockchain digital money return that's going to have all your information associated with it. So we're going to come into that kind of a world. That's kind of a world we're going to come into. So anyway, I'm starting to run out of sunlight. Things are getting a little bit darker, so I'm going to switch this around, say goodbye to you, and call it an evening. Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'll have another video for you tomorrow. Thank you.